Here are 5 horrifying creatures the Bible hints actually existed. Imagine living in a world where the ocean doesn't just hide sharks, nor whales, nor even giant squid. No. Imagine it hiding something that looks at the giant squid and thinks, "Cute appetizer." Because that's the kind of universe the ancient writers assumed you lived in. And based on their descriptions, you were one bad fishing trip away from being turned into soup by something that should not exist. And nothing summarizes that quiet, cozy biblical nightmare better than the one creature God himself seems genuinely impressed by. You know it. You've heard the whispers. The sea monster that makes every sailor rethink their life choices. Leviathan. Picture this. You're standing on a cliff, watching the waves roll in, minding your own peaceful Bronze Age business. Maybe you're holding a basket of fish. Maybe you're wondering what's for dinner. And then the entire ocean rises like it's trying to stand up, and you see something with scales as big as humans, eyes like molten glass, and breath that makes steam hiss across the water. This is the moment you realize dinner is now you. Biblical writers describe Leviathan like they were trying to create a creature no sane human would ever want to meet. Scales that cannot be pierced, a mouth ringed with terrible teeth, fire snorting from its nostrils, smoke billowing from its jaw, a neck of raw muscle, a body that churns the sea into foam, a personality somewhere between angry volcano and chainsaw with abandonment issues. Imagine an anaconda, a supersized like Godzilla, armored like a tank, with the temperament of a rabid dog, occasionally breathing fire like it ate a torch just to spite the torch. Who it was before the Bible doesn't give a simple before story, because nothing about Leviathan is simple. But older Hebrew traditions say Leviathan may have started as one of the primordial sea creatures created at the beginning of time. Back then, the oceans weren't relaxing vacation spots. They were cosmic storage units full of half-finished nightmare prototypes. Leviathan was supposedly one of a pair. Yes, there were 2, a male and a female. And according to tradition, God looked at them and went, 2 of these things seems like a bad idea, and removed one because if they reproduced, humanity wouldn't stand a chance. Imagine being so dangerous that God himself puts you on a one-child policy. Some legends say that the problem began when Leviathan started getting territorial. By territorial, I mean it tried to eat literally anything that moved. Yes, ships. Definitely. Stars. Don't tempt it. Random rays of light hitting the water. Probably, its hunger grew so violent that ancient storytellers claimed it could thrash the sea into storms, swallow entire boats, and use its tail like a divine fly swatter to flatten anyone having a picnic too close to shore. Eventually, its presence symbolized chaos itself, the transformation. Leviathan didn't really transform. It was always like this, but the transformation in the story is more about how people saw it. At first, Leviathan was just a big problem. A scary sea monster that you avoided with the same dedication you avoid sitting next to the guy on the bus who is muttering to himself. But over time, Leviathan grew in myth until it wasn't just big. It was cosmic. Every time someone saw a storm, a massive wave, a tsunami, anything Leviathan was blamed. Because what's easier, trying to understand meteorology or saying, "Oh, the giant fire-breathing sea demon is angry again"? What it became a symbol of unstoppable chaos, a living disaster, a reminder that the ocean isn't your friend, not even a little bit. Ancient readers didn't imagine the sea as pretty blue vacation water. They imagined it as a boiling cauldron, full of teeth and glowing eyes, where Leviathan lurked just below the surface like a supernatural debt collector. And tucked inside all that horror. A lesson: humans aren't as powerful as they think, especially when a creature exists that could swallow you and still be hungry enough to burp politely afterward. Why the story existed? Because people in the ancient Near East were terrified of the sea. They didn't know what was out there, so they filled it with something that matched their fear. Leviathan explained the unexplainable. Storms, shipwrecks, strange ocean noises, missing fishermen. The horrifying idea that the deep is watching you back. And honestly, Leviathan gives the ocean the right vibe. The deep sea already looks like a haunted basement full of glowing nightmare eels. Slap a fire-breathing crocodile dragon in there and everything suddenly makes sense. And if you're still wondering whether Leviathan is real, just remember, we still discover new sea creatures every year, most of which look like they were designed by someone who hates sleep. Behemoth. If Leviathan is the monster that made sailors quit their jobs, Behemoth is the creature that made every farmer shepherd. An innocent guy just trying to water his donkey say, "Nope, I'm moving to the city." Because unlike Leviathan, Behemoth doesn't live in the sea. No, Behemoth lives where you live. Right next to your crops. Right next to your well. Right next to your quiet little home with a lovely view of the river valley. And the Bible describes it the way you might describe a massive wild animal you hope never notices you. Bones of bronze limbs like iron bars, muscles stacked like hills, a tail like a cedar tree, a stomach that could mow down an entire field, and a vibe that says, if it steps on you, that's your fault. Imagine the biggest land animal you know. Now multiply it by 5. Make it permanently hungry. Give it the confident swagger of a heavyweight wrestler who knows nobody can stop him. And let it walk around with the calm, peaceful attitude of someone who has never lost a fight. That's Behemoth. Some people like to say it was just a hippo. No disrespect to hippos, they are terrifying, but this thing makes a hippo look like a chunky bathtub toy for toddlers. This creature had a tail like a cedar tree. Hippo tails do not look like cedar trees. They look like confused, fleshy paintbrushes having an existential crisis. Behemoth, on the other hand, was basically a walking natural disaster. Ancient stories say Behemoth began as a peaceful giant creature during creation, one of the first animals formed when the world was fresh, green, and full of things waiting to be eaten. Picture a massive, gentle creature wandering the early earth. Maybe it grazed quietly. Maybe it enjoyed long naps in the shade. Maybe it lived its best vegetarian life before anyone invented the concept of fencing. Then things changed. According to early Hebrew tradition, Behemoth didn't remain peaceful. Something happened as the world aged. Some say the land itself became harsher, forcing creatures to grow tougher and more aggressive. Others claim Behemoth developed a hunger so massive it couldn't be satisfied by ordinary grass. Maybe it ate an entire field. Maybe it ate several. Maybe it looked at a mountain once and thought, snack. Ever happened, the world shifted and Behemoth shifted with it. The peaceful creature became a living tank. This is where things get fun. Imagine watching your neighbor's cow evolve like a pakeman, but directly into a boss-level monster. First, the body thickened. Muscles knotted across its frame like stacked boulders. Its skin hardened into armor you couldn't dent with a spear unless you sharpened that spear for 3 years straight. Then, its tail grew long, thick, heavy. One swing could flatten a campsite. 2 swings could flatten a village. A third swing would be overkill, but Behemoth would absolutely still do it. And just when you thought this creature couldn't get worse, it developed an appetite capable of stripping a landscape bare like a biblical lawnmower from hell. What it became a creature so massive and unbothered that it basically lived life like a gigantic, chill bulldozer. It lounged in the river. It shaded itself under lotus plants that must have been the size of umbrellas for giants. It walked wherever it wanted. It ate whatever it wanted. It feared nothing, especially humans. To people in the ancient world, Behemoth was the embodiment of untamed nature. You could not fight it. You could not contain it. You could not even shoo it away. It was the planet reminding humans that they were tiny meat popsicles who needed to stop thinking they were in charge. Behemoth represented the wild land, unpredictable, untamable, and indifferent to your feelings. People feared droughts, floods, and famines. They feared losing crops. They feared massive wild animals crushing fields and ruining the year's harvest. So Behemoth became the symbol of those fears. Strength, you can't defeat nature, you can't control appetite, you can't satisfy, and honestly, they weren't wrong. Try stopping something with bones of bronze using a stick you carved that morning. Good luck. Behemoth is the creature that strolls into your backyard, eats your entire vegetable garden, and leaves without even saying thank you. And if that wasn't comforting enough, before we go on, tap like and subscribe, and watch till the end. The last creature does not play nice. Lilith. If Behemoth is the creature that ruins crops and Leviathan is the creature that ruins oceans, Lilith is the creature that ruins sleep. And believe me, humans have feared many things throughout history: starving, drowning, getting eaten by something with too many teeth, but nothing has ever terrified us more than the idea of something watching you while you trying to sleep. Lilith is exactly that kind of problem. A shadow woman, night demon, a shape-shifting being who slips into dark rooms and leaves people questioning whether they need to move out, burn the house down, or simply never close their eyes again. What she looked like, descriptions vary, because Lilith is the kind of creature you don't stare at long enough to describe accurately. But in general stories, she appears as a tall woman with long, unkempt black hair, eyes that shine like embers, or moonlight, skin pale enough to make fresh parchment jealous, wings like a giant bat, claws as sharp as obsidian, a voice soft enough to lure you in a presence heavy, enough to make you regret every decision that led you into that room. Imagine the last face you'd ever want to wake up to, and now give it wings and a supernatural grudge. Who she was before Lilith's origin sits somewhere between biblical hint, ancient folklore, and people were terrified of the dark and created a monster to blame it on. Early traditions describe her as the first woman, yes, even before Eve, made from the same dust as Adam. But unlike Eve, who was created later from Adam's rib, Lilith was his equal. Same dirt, same rank, and they fought like it. Divine relationship counseling session escalated from "we disagree on things" to "I'm leaving and becoming queen of demons faster than any marriage in human history." According to tradition, Lilith abandoned Eden because she refused to be controlled. She left, walked straight into the night, and never came back. The trigger event? Here's where it gets biblical, horror-flavored. Lilith's departure from Eden wasn't just a breakup, it was a transformation. When she wandered into the wilderness, something ancient and violent met her there. Something chaotic. Something that loved to twist freedom into monstrosity. Some say it was a fallen angel. Some say it was the spirit of the desert itself. Some say she simply changed on her own, twisting into something vengeful. Whatever the cause, Lilith was no longer human after that night. And imagine watching someone step into a sandstorm and come out a completely different species. First, her hair grew wild, stretching long like strands of shadow. Her limbs lengthened unnaturally. Her eyes began glowing, some say red, some say white, all say, "Do not make eye contact unless your will is already updated." Her nails hardened into claws. Her back cracked, split, and unfurled into leathery wings that whipped the air like living curtains of night. And her voice, once human, deepened into a whisper that could slip under doors, into dreams, and inside the deepest crevices of human fear. What she became, the spirit of the night. A figure standing at the crossroads of fear and superstition. A creature who haunts deserts, steals, sleep stalks lonely travelers, preys on the vulnerable, sneaks into homes through open windows, slips through darkness like it's an old friend. People imagined her floating above sleeping towns, scanning for weaknesses, an unlocked door, a crying baby, a man wandering after sunset. Lilith became the embodiment of every unsettling thing humans felt when walking alone at night and swore something was following them. Ancient people tried to explain the unexplainable. Night terrors, infant mortality, sleep paralysis, sudden panic while alone in the dark. That creepy feeling you get at 3 a.m. for no reason. They couldn't explain these things, so they created someone who could. Lilith. She was the perfect explanation for why the night felt alive, and why dreams sometimes turned violent. And let's be honest, nothing says welcome to ancient psychological horror like imagining a winged demon woman perched at your window while you sleep. Lilith is the reason people invented locks, night lamps, and the rule, never sleep near an open window unless you want company. And just when you think the night can't get any worse, let's look at something bigger, stronger, and much more confused about the concept of personal space. The Nephilim. If Lilith makes you afraid of the dark and Leviathan makes you afraid of the ocean, the Nephilim are here to make you afraid of tall people. These beings stride through the early chapters of the Bible like mythological Easter eggs, enormous, violent, powerful, and probably terrible at fitting through doorways. The kind of giants you don't invite to dinner because they'll eat the table, the chairs, your entire pantry, and then politely ask if you have more salt. Imagine living in a world where some people were 20 feet tall, always angry, and built like walking siege towers. That's the Nephilim. What they looked like, everyone agrees on two details. They were giants. They were terrifying. But ancient descriptions add more: thick, stone-like bones, immense strength, deep, booming voices, eyes that glow with strange intensity. A height that absolutely breaks the what's considered normal for a human skeleton category if you've ever seen a beefy gym influencer and thought, that's too much muscle. Multiply that by 20. Gods. Add supernatural DNA. Sprinkle in a little violent destiny. Vula! Nephilim. Who they were before, this is where things get weird. The Bible hints at their origin, but the details read like a divine soap opera. The sons of God, described as heavenly beings, looked down on human women and thought, you know what? Let's go mingle. And they did. The children of these unions were, well, not ordinary. These half-divine, half-human offspring grew into giants with dangerous strength and even more dangerous attitudes. Imagine trying to raise a toddler who can lift a boulder. Imagine trying to discipline a teenager who can split trees by sneezing. Imagine someone with the DNA of an angel and the self-control of a human. Yes, disaster. The trigger event. You'd think the trigger event for their transformation was being born. But no. The real shift happened as they grew, as their bodies stretched beyond normal proportions, their minds twisted with it. Not necessarily evil at first, just too large for the world they were born into. Too strong, too restless, too aware that nothing and no one could stop them. They hunted for sport. They fought each other for fun. They treated humans like breakable action figures. They carved out reputations as warlords, tyrants, and living natural disasters. And because every good story needs moral consequences, the Nephilim escalated until the world couldn't handle them anymore. Their transformation wasn't about physical change. It was about legend. People watched these giant beings wreak havoc, and the stories grew. They became known as warriors of old men of renown, ancient heroes, terrifying destroyers, and the more the legends grew, the more monstrous the Nephilim became in memory. Some tales say their bodies hardened like stone. Others claim their eyes flickered with divine fire. Some insist they could not be killed by ordinary weapons. Whether these details were supernatural truth or ancient exaggeration is unclear, but considering the Bible says their violence helped trigger the flood, it's safe to say they were not the kind of neighbors you wanted. What they became: walking catastrophes. Imagine living in a small tent village and hearing thunderous footsteps approaching. Not because of a storm, but because Chad, the giant warlord, is hungry again and wants to borrow a cow. Imagine watching one of them pick up a tree and use it as a spear, because apparently that's a thing giants do when bored. Imagine being a normal-sized human in a world where some people could snap you in half as a warm-up stretch. No wonder ancient civilizations feared them. Why the story existed: the Nephilim captured the ancient fear of overwhelming violence, rogue warriors conquering tribes, human arrogance, divine punishment, the idea of strength without morality. People saw war leaders, massive fighters, brutal tribes, and said, "These can't just be regular humans." So they created giants part divine, part human, all terrifying. And it wrapped every danger they faced into one colossal, bone-cracking package. The Nephilim were basically humanity's worst roommates. Loud, destructive, always hungry, and physically incapable of cleaning up after themselves. And if giants stomping around ancient Israel weren't bad enough, wait until you meet the one creature whose very name became synonymous with sin itself. Azazel. If the Nephilim were the giants you never wanted to meet on a hiking trip, Azazel is the creature you never wanted to meet anywhere, especially if you were carrying regrets, shame, or any mistakes whatsoever. Which is to say, all humans. Azazel slithers through early biblical tradition as a figure so unsettling that he was literally assigned everyone's sins, hand-delivered via a goat, and then banished to the wilderness like a cosmic trash bin for everything humanity has ever done wrong. Yes, you heard that right. He is the supernatural entity that receives scenes the way your phone receives spam notifications. What he looked like descriptions vary wildly, but they all agree on one thing: Azazel is not human. Some portray him as a horned, towering, desert demon, part man, part goat, with eyes like black pits, skin cracked like sun-baked stone, wings torn or burned, claws that drag furrows in the sand, a face that can't decide whether it wants to be skeletal or animalistic, a presence that makes you feel judged before he even speaks. Imagine a creature sculpted from guilt, dust, and the unsettling feeling of, "I hope no one remembers that embarrassing thing I did 8 years ago." That's Azazel. Who he was before Azazel's origins lie in the strange twilight zone between early Hebrew belief and the supernatural mythos that formed around the desert. Before he became the frightening figure we know, he was said to be one of the heavenly beings, powerful, beautiful, and influential part of the divine hierarchy, until, according to tradition, he joined the rebellion of the fallen Watchers, the same group linked to the origins of the Nephilim. Azazel wasn't content with simply existing. No, his specialty was teaching forbidden knowledge, cosmetic arts, weapon making, metalworks, enchantments. Azazel was like the supernatural friend who hands you a sword, eyeliner, and a cursed book and says, "You'll figure it out." And humanity did. Too well. According to tradition, Azazel's downfall came from offering knowledge humans weren't ready for. Weapon craft made wars bloodier. Seduction craft made societies spiral. Magic craft opened doors no one could close. Every forbidden thing humans learned. They learned from Azazel. As the world unraveled, violence spread, chaos grew. And every terrible choice humans made was traced back like a paper trail leading directly to him. This is the moment Azazel stopped being a heavenly being with questionable career choices and became something much darker. And when Azazel fell, he fell hard. The desert swallowed him. The sky rejected him. His wings blackened, scorched, or tore off depending on the tale. His beauty twisted into something jagged. His body changed to match the corruption he'd spread. His voice lost its warmth. His form lost its symmetry. And his purpose became the thing ancient people feared most, the living embodiment of guilt and corruption. Imagine if every bad decision you ever made had a face. A monstrous face. Patient face. Face waiting in the hot wilderness for anyone brave or foolish enough to approach. Azazel became the personification of human sin. A cosmic landfill for everything rotten inside people. During the ancient Day of Atonement ritual, one goat was sacrificed to God, and one goat, loaded with the sins of the entire nation, was sent into the wilderness to Azazel. Think about that. He was so notorious, so spiritually radioactive, so fear-inducing, that people invented a monster specifically to dump all their problems onto. He became the Lord of the Wastelands, the Keeper of Sin. The desert's shadow, the reminder that guilt has a destination, the haunting thought following every wrongdoing. Azazel didn't hunt you. You hunted yourself. And he just waited at the finish line. People fear the wilderness. People fear guilt. People fear consequences. Fear that the evil inside them will grow into something they cannot control. Azazel stitched all those fears together into one towering nightmare. He explained why humans feel haunted by their past, why sin has weight, why deserts felt spiritually dangerous, why people need anyone to blame. Azazel was the monster that made emotional baggage feel literal. Azazel is the creature you meet only if you've made enough terrible choices that even the demons think, wow, this one's messy. And now that we've reached the end of our biblical creature parade, let's close this nightmare carnival properly. So, let's take stock. You've met a fire-breathing sea monster that could give Godzilla a complex, a land-welling juggernaut whose daily hobby was being too big to stop, a vengeful night demon who hates open windows, a race of massive, half-divine giants who treated humans like chew toys, and a fallen being so corrupt the entire nation dumped its sins on him like yesterday's garbage. And people wonder why ancient humans slept with one eye open. Fear shaped these stories. Chaos shaped them. The unknown shaped them most of all. The world was bigger back then, or at least it felt bigger. The desert stretched forever. The sea hid everything. The night whispered. The wilderness judged. And humans did what humans always do. Where fear grows, stories follow. Where danger lurks, monsters are born. Where guilt festers, demons rise. But even with all that, you can't help but wonder, which one freaked you out the most? If you want more dark Bible stories, hit like and subscribe. Your support lets me keep digging up the next one.